All right, so we're coming live from Renfrew Strength Conditioning Center today. Going to be going through a full squat session. It's more of total body work, but the focus today is on squats specifically. Coming to an end of my current training block, so testing a few numbers on how things are going, how things went, that sort of thing. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna do some stretching. I'm starting off with some hip rotation work. Pretty much start every session off that way. Getting the hips in good rotation before you're squatting. It's going to get you moving through good hip flexion as well. And what I'm actually working with here first is some kneeling external rotation. So just searching for some active range. See where I'm at. Come to a kneeling position and rotating into the stretch. So I got this from my friend Grayson Strange, at Strange Grayson on Instagram. He's doing a lot of the old school strength camp stuff with me. But what this working hip rotation does this way is it completely takes the low back hip flexors out of the equation so that we can specifically isolate the stretch in rotation. So it's super nice. Actually, when I first started doing this, I felt like I've actually never stretched my rotation in isolation. So just spending some time accumulating the stretch here first. Then we're going to go through a couple bouts of contractions. Do that on each side. So it's nice to be using an implement like a kettlebell or something like this where we can actually even monitor our progress. Because as I'm creating these contractions, I'm thinking about the strength against this immovable object, which potentially someday could become movable as I get stronger in that position. Let's do the other side. I mean, my right side's tighter than the left today. It doesn't feel that way, but it's like one of those things when you get into a stretch, you don't know where you're actually carrying tension. Sweating though. Stretching's hard work. I'm doing internal rotation here now, so you see I've actually switched. So still in that downward kneeling position, kettlebell's on the medial aspect of the foot. And again, searching for that active range first, just to kind of see where I'm going to be strongest in the stretch. A lot of people make that mistake. When we talk about stretching too deep too soon, that's usually what's happening is no one knows where their active range is first, right? So it's good to like search for where your active range is at, and that's where maybe we should start the stretch. On my left side, internal rotations, way more limited. And some dynamic stretching, basic swings, which even aren't, for most people, it's not even so basic because it probably shouldn't even be called swinging the leg. Ideally, the intention here is to lead the leg to its highest point and then create a little acceleration. So if I was to demonstrate that slowly, lead the leg, accelerate, right? So lead, accelerate, just near that end range. And that's where you can even take that into more advanced applications like stretch kicks. Same thing from the side. Gonna lead and then accelerate. A lot of the dynamic stretching stuff, like most people just kind of keep it to like global athletic movements like skipping and shit, but like seriously taking the time to be stationary, learn to move your limbs through acceleration. Like again, start slow, then go fast, right? And it's that you break it down that way for people sometimes and they're like, oh shit, I never thought. I was trying to sprint before I learned how to walk. Hanging's so good, man, because there's so many variations, so many ways to progress it. This is just like a little one-arm eagle hang here, right? So just taking that one arm grip, my feet are supported. And then if I just look to rotate around, I find myself in all this extension. All the bands. I'm just gonna do some Zercher squats with the band. And these are sweet because a lot of the times people aren't thinking about how they want to squat. So I mean, we know that the counterbalance with weight helps people squat better, right? So goblet squatting and whatnot. But the band, specifically the Zercher, gets you thinking a little bit more about freeing up your scaps. So now I can come back and I can think about freeing my scaps up. And the same idea here is like I want to use that pulling action to teach myself to keep my center of mass back. And if we're going through some ass to grass squatting, like we want full range, we want to understand how the hips rotate. That's what we're looking for. So rib cage down, pelvis tucked, sit back. So I even need a little bit more tension there for me. Getting all those cues warmed up. Head into the bar. And we'll see how today goes. I'm just coming to an end of the training block where it's just been squatting once a week versus spend. What's that?
Once a week to squat?
Yeah, like, I mean, that's like not a big deal. I guess most people will do that anyway, but I was doing high frequency squatting for like, geez, almost 2 years. And it's like one of those things you start doing something and you're like, if I change anything, I'm gonna lose all my gains, right? So it was like coming back to like that conversation with myself, like, do I need to squat every day or 4 days a week?
You said you were doing it daily.
I was, yeah, 7 days a week at one point. And it was just like, man, that was a little crazy. Like kids at home and, you know, like trying to make time. Like some of the sessions I just go down and just like do, you know, not much of a warm up, just throw the weight on and go. Just for the challenge of it, right? To see what it did. And I made some gains. Like, I think it's like going through the motions of, it's just like work, right? It's like, there's no overthinking, you just show up, squat, like, but I was just really leaving a lot on the table. Like I wasn't training in other areas as much, and upper body training was taking an effect, and my flexibility wasn't in there as much, but so it was all fun. But coming back to that 1 day approach, I mean, that's old school, right? Like some of the best squatters of our time, just squatted once a week. Eat right, squat right, rest. I would say with warm-ups and stuff too, like I don't even feel like I can get into best positions until I have weight on the bar. That's the thing too, a lot of people like, they'll think, oh, I need a perfect body weight squat before I start squatting with weight. Wait a second, you realize that the weight helps you squat better with your body weight? Because you learn, it's like a loaded stretch. When you learn to do it right too, it helps you. So it actually helps you learn to sit back, do things a certain way. I think a goblet squat would be maybe a better entry point for someone who maybe wasn't looking to do like a back squat. But I mean, back squat is king. So a lot of the same things happening here that happened with that Zercher banded squat, right? I'm pulling those ribs down, tucking my pelvis, finding good extension, and sitting back. I like to ease into certain things as the weight's going heavier. Like one of my old coaches used to say, like, squat every set, every warm up, like it's your max weight. Value in that for sure, because you just work on heavy cues, like heavy weight cues, and heavy weight cues, you know, more intensity, things like that. After a while, you've been doing it for so long, it's like you kind of need to warm up to intensity. If I'm squatting a plate like 400 pounds, I'm gonna burn out. It's kind of a mental thing. Mentally warm yourself up, right? Thinking more about the upper body now. What's going on there? As I go heavier, I think more about my upper body than I do my lower body. That's where shit falls apart. You can't stay tight in your upper body. What do you think the legs are gonna do? They're gonna fucking collapse. I'm probably shifting all over the place. Probably got to talk about that shake. People that are watching that maybe have asked about the shake. Are you just shaking the weights to hear the sound of the weights? A little bit. But I've always done that. Again, one of my old coaches kind of had this concept of bracing and just the balance, right? So you think about it, like even if you were about to jump vertically, it's like you're gonna kind of bounce a little bit to kind of see where your weight's at. Usually you'll even find yourself just like sitting over here a little bit. You're like, oh fuck, bring myself over. Same thing, I do that all the time. Like bracing to me, a part of it is just a little bit of the shake of the weight. The shake of the weight sends all those sensations through, gets everything feeling nice and tight, gets me thinking about where my balance is. If I'm over here a little bit too much, sending that little shake, upper body's feeling tight. Okay, now I'm gonna brace and go. So there is strategy behind that. Plus the weights sound fucking cool. Tom Platz used to like intentionally space the weights apart a little bit so that he could hear it shaking super hard. Fucking psycho. Felt good. That's another one too, right? Butt winking. People get so fucking psycho about it. And the big thing about butt winking is, again, that cue we're talking about at the start, that posterior tilt. If you're neglecting that and you're squatting like a stripper, they say, where it's all that big extension sticking your ass out, the butt winking is usually just your body trying to find that posterior tilt. Posterior tilt's going to be more glutes. This isn't going to be glutes, right? You want to actually tuck the pelvis under and move to where your body wants to go. So if you can navigate that better, a little bit of butt winking through your end range is fine. You decompress your lumbar. You're just gonna, be so much better off. Let's jump right to it. Fuck. Only the best angles for the Graham, man. You gotta watch YouTube for all the shitty angles. Oh, he's actually real. It's not perfect every time. pretty fast. That was better. And it feels fucking good. I can be squatting heavy, or pretty heavy. You gotta tame the ego a bit and like what you should be working towards, but and be able to do other things. That's the thing, is like when you build that range up really good and well, you can broaden yourself and not just be a fucking slave to one way of training. This is what I came here to do today. I don't even know if chalk really does anything when you squat. It's just a fucking mental thing. It's like, I don't know if the bar's gonna stay there better. Just gotta make it dust up. I could have done more. That felt good though. First 405 since maybe March.
Wow.
And that was like coming back from COVID, testing the waters. And it was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. It's like, all right. So the community aspect of social media, I think, is where, you know, you can appreciate, if I share this and share what I'm training for, I'm going to connect with some cool people around the world. I've connected with a lot of cool people because of that, right? Like, just finding like-minded people. Like, you don't want to get caught up in thinking like, oh, I'm not fucking good because this person did that or that person's doing this. It's like, no, just share, be vulnerable, and you'll find people that are like just doing the same shit. You know, working 9 to 5s, trying to raise a family, and just love training. Love strength training. And that's how that goes. Do not rep that out.